Okay, how to simplify fractions that have denominator radical expressions. So I'm going to review conjugate multiplication. How do you simplify fractions that have denominators with expressions? Well, I don't know if you remember, but in Algebra 1, when you have a situation where you have a difference of squares, x squared subtract y squared, it factors to what's called conjugates, x plus y, x minus y. And if you do the distributive or FOIL, x times x is x squared. This x times negative y is negative xy. Now, this y times this x is positive xy, and this y times this negative y is negative y squared. But look at what we have in the middle. When you multiply by conjugates, the middle terms cancel, and what you're left with is the first thing squared subtract the second thing squared. That's what happens every time you multiply by conjugates. So that's the method that we're going to use to simplify this. We're going to multiply by the conjugate so we can get rid of that radical. So the opposite of 3 subtract 5 is 3 plus 5. But remember, you can only multiply a fraction by 1, so we have to also write 3 plus root 5, root 5. And now 3 plus root 5 divided 3 plus root 5 is just 1. So we're not going to change the value, but we're going to change the look. And then remember, when you multiply by conjugates, the middle terms are going to cancel. So you can just multiply the first times the first, and then the second times the second, and put a subtract sign, just like this. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply 3 times 3, which is 9, put a subtract sign. Then remember, root 5 times root 5, whenever you multiply a radical times itself, the radical goes away and it leaves the number, because think about it this way. Root 5 times root 5 is 25. The square root of 25 is 5. Well, now 9 subtract 5 is 4. Okay, so now we've taken care of the denominator. Well, in the numerator, I'm going to put parentheses around this, and this is multiplication. Well, 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times root 5 is just root 5. So that's what the final result will be. Just like that. So 1 over 3 subtract root 5 is equivalent to this expression, 3 plus root 5 all over 4. Now we're going to go 1 degree more difficult. It's still going to be the same. I'm going to now put parentheses around the numerator and the denominator. We're still going to multiply. By the way, you only multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. It's the denominator that can't have a radical. So this is a plus sign, so this will get a subtract sign. And whatever we multiply the denominator by, you're also going to multiply the numerator. And we're going to simplify the denominator first. First times first is 1, put a subtract sign. Second times second, root 3 times root 3 is 3. 1 subtract 3 is negative 2. And remember, at the end, we're not going to have negative signs, but we'll eventually simplify that. All right. Now we're going to, and I'm going to keep working, because now that I simplify, I'll simplify part to here, and then probably the final step will probably be down here. So we're going to do double distributive or FOIL. The two first numbers, 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times negative root 3 is just negative 6 root 3. All right. Now, negative root 2 times 1 is negative root 2, and negative root 2 times negative root 3 is positive root 6. Because remember, when you're multiplying, you can multiply anything, so it becomes this times this becomes, well, negative times negative is positive. Since they're both square roots, you can put them under the same radical sign, and then 2 times 3 is 6. So that's where that comes from. All right, now if there are any like terms, there are not. So this is, we can just leave this as 6 subtract 6 root 3 subtract root 2 plus root 6. However, we cannot leave a negative sign in the denominator. So if we multiply, or I'll do it this way. Think about if we multiply everything by negative 1. So what's going to happen? In the denominator, negative 1 times negative 2 is 2. Because remember, this is here's a better way to explain it. We're just going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by negative 1 to keep the denominator in the right frame, which is a positive number, positive integer. So now 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. Negative 6 root 3 times negative 1 is positive 6 root 3. Negative root 2 times negative 1 is positive root 2. And positive root 6 times negative 1 is negative root 6. And this is as simplified as it gets. Now, if there would have been, say, a 2 outside here and maybe an 8 there, then the negative 6, 6, 2, 8, negative 8, and 2 all would have had a 2 in common. Then you could have simplified, you could have factored out a 2 from all of that. But it did not have a 2 or an 8 attached. So I can get those out of there. So we could not simplify any further. All right, that's it for this one.